how could you find out if we had no free will?
I don't know. I mean, that's like a crazy question. I have no idea
All
how
right.
to. Yeah, that's like, yeah. If I knew, I could probably, I could help society a lot if I knew the answer to that. But I don't.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. So Matthew,
Yeah.
Matthew, Matthew,
Yeah. Two T's.
Hew.
Yeah. Yeah. Matthew.
Cool. Good to meet you, Matthew. I'm David,
Nice to meet you.
and you said you want to talk about higher power.
Yeah. I just from what my experiences in my life, I believe there is a higher power. So that's kind of what I'm going with for today.
Okay. And it's supported by personal experience.
Yeah, I'd say my senses too. I know in philosophy people have made the argument that our senses are not reliable, but some of it is like a spiritual sense. I'm not feeling it with my eyes or my nose or my ears or my mouth or my hands are touching it, but I just feel it's there, and that's more like a mental perception. So, but that's also that I can only say that I felt that. I can't go to someone else and be like, "Oh, did you feel that?"
Mm-hmm.
Compared to like a tree, we can both touch a tree and see the tree is there, but even that, we're seeing it. Are our eyes lying to us? What if this is a simulation? A lot of people talk about the Matrix. I see on YouTube all this garbage about the Matrix. Andrew Tate escaped the Matrix. All this. I think a lot of it is misleading, but the whole concept of can we trust our reality? I think that has a strong basis to it.
Okay. Uh, so if we look at personal experience, just generally speaking, to start off with, 0 to 100, how reliable would you consider personal experience
Um,
in using that to determine if something is actually the case in our shared reality?
I think for yourself, 100%, you can choose to believe it, but to go and extend that to someone else and tell them, hey, this is true,
Yeah,
you can't do that. We're kind of islands in a certain sense, you know?
yeah. And I'm interested in what's supporting your confidence in your belief in a higher power. And it sounds like you're saying you're basing it on personal experience, and with this type of thing, personal experience for you in your mind is 100% reliable.
I don't think there's anything else you could really trust. I actually would put trusting myself compared to trusting others most of the time is more important because, I mean, they could be seeing something, in a wrong way. Obviously, there's depends on what the situation is. Like if a lot of people, like maybe you're just with a group of people, you're on a hike, and a bat flies by, you don't see it, but everyone else says they saw it. You can probably, that's something I would say, like, yeah, you can agree that that happened. But when you get to more ephemeral things like spirituality, it's like each is in their own experience, you know? So, yeah.
So, same scale, 0 to 100, how confident are you that a higher power exists?
Well, I'm just trying to figure out how I should phrase this.
It's just a number.
Well, there's just two ways that I'm thinking about it. I think like how I feel it, like in my heart, 100%. But you know, with my mind, like I don't feel like I prove it to other people. I don't feel like it can be shared with someone else.
Yeah.
So I guess if I had to combine the two, because you just want one, right?
Well,
Or could I give you two scales?
I'm interested in why you're convinced it's true, not necessarily why how you could convince others. I'm
Yeah,
interested in what convinces you, and it sounds like you're saying personal experience. You trust yourself, and you feel it in your heart.
yeah.
Okay, so
But also I spiritually like feel it. There have been times where I had spiritual experiences
mhm.
where I've felt the presence of a higher power, and they've happened, and I just can't deny that I can't say it didn't happen because I totally experienced something that could not be explained by science, in my opinion.
Okay, if it could be, and I'm not saying this is the case, if it could be explained by science, how would that affect the way you behave in the world?
Well, I think if it could be explained by science, it wouldn't necessarily be spirituality. I think if there is a creator or whatever you want to call it, a God, and they create this reality, I think the reason why there are atheists and there are believers and there's a whole spectrum is because part of the spiritual value is not knowing and having to hope and pray and have faith in it. So if science could prove it, you know, it would kind of lose its it would kind of lose the mystique that keeps it going. Um, and I think it's something that, like, you know, maybe it's always there, but no one is seeing it because they're just not aware of it yet. Like if you, when you, as you mature and you gain wisdom, you start to kind of realize, at least in my experience, realize that, like everything is God or higher power. Like the trees, it's a nice day out, there's beautiful grass on the lawn, how the sunlight is hitting it. Like we're all just one creation, and even mundane things can be spiritual. Forgot where
I
I
want
was
to,
going
yeah, I
with
want to
that.
get specifics about the higher power itself, but I'm still curious how confident you are that the higher power is real, like 0 to 100.
For me, I'd say 100, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry if I'm like going in
No,
circles or
you're good.
anything.
I'll
Yeah,
help you.
yeah.
Um, so you're 100% confident that the higher power exists,
Well,
and
wait. Actually, can I change that?
yeah,
I want to say I want to say 95 because if I knew 100%, then like I don't think I would be here. I think I'd be somewhere else. I would be in a different state completely. You know, there is this uncertainty that I think every human has to deal with. About mortality, about is there going to be another life after this? I feel like that's what that 5% is missing that
okay,
I have. But I'm not. I'm very close to the 100% is what I'd like to say.
okay, and you're not at 100 because it's more valuable if you don't know. The uncertainty is
Well, it's
gives
just
it more.
it can't be proven completely.
Okay.
If it was proven completely, I feel like you'd be omnipotent, you would be able to have total awareness.
Well, didn't you say that personal experience is 100% reliable?
Um, yes, that's a contradiction. Um, what I'm trying to say is like it's as reliable as it can get me to a place where I don't choose to question it daily. I'm at a good point where I'm like, okay, I'm going to believe this. Do I have 100% proof? No, but it's enough for me to believe. That's kind of what I meant by that.
Are you still at 100% in personal experience being reliable?
I think on certain matters it is 100%, but like like you can't prove 100% with personal experience. So I wouldn't say it's at. I feel like with mundane things it's at 100%, but with things that are harder to quantify, you can't really prove it. And then because the everyday things are within the sense, they're within the more unquantifiable realm because we know there's a reality we live in, but it's in a larger context. You could also say that the stuff we're sure of on a daily basis we cannot be so sure of. So it's complicated, but
Okay.
I guess I could put it down a bit to make it to say that it's not. I mean, when I said 100, I meant 100 as in like it's enough for me to go with belief, but 100% proof, I don't think it's 100% proof. I think it can get us like 90%, if that makes sense.
Okay. So in matters of higher power belief, personal experience is not 100% reliable?
I would just say overall, it just changes from 100 to 90% because um, it can't take you to proof, but it can take you to a point where you believe something and you stick with it on a daily basis.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Um, that I don't really have any other questions. I mean, I've got tons of questions, but I think I can leave it there. Do you have any questions for me?
I mean, I'm happy more talk. I'm enjoying this. I'm happy to more talk
Okay.
about spirituality and everything. If you do
Okay.
have any more questions,
Um, let's see. So you're 95% confident that the higher power exists, and the main reason is personal experience, which is 90% reliable with in contexts like this. Is that all accurate?
um, yeah, the only thing that I'm kind of concerned about is there's a discrepancy, right? It should be 95, 95. Now that I'm thinking about it, but it's 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 all just what I'm assigning in my head, so it's gonna be
Yeah.
subjective. But
Okay.
if it works out to 90, 95, I think just keep it like that.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean,
If you found out that personal experience was 50% reliable, what would that do to your confidence in the higher power belief?
I've been at that point before. That's me when I was younger, when I was still earlier in my journey, seeking. For sure, yeah. I remember like a good moment. I was probably at 50%. There was a spiritual grotto. I think it was in Virginia, and my family we were like driving to like a relative's house, and we stopped by the grotto because my dad thought it'd be cool to just check out. And there's this like huge statue of Jesus, and I was just looking up at it, and right there I felt this presence. But let's fast forward 2 weeks after that. It's out of my head. I'm not thinking about it. I'm still doubting. I'm still not sure what is going on in the big picture. But I had these little glimpses. So I'd say I was not as trusting of these kind of senses, back then. But I've gained greater trust in them as it keeps happening and the messages keep being repeated to me over time.
Okay, so maybe this will help. Uh, let's say tomorrow you had another experience that caused you to consider personal experience to be 50% reliable.
Yeah, I
In
wonder what that
terms
would.
of spirituality, higher power, uh, would where would your confidence in the higher power belief go to if you yourself were convinced that personal experience is only 50% reliable?
Uh, I don't know how I would get to 50%. I have to think of an example to understand. You
It'd
know.
just be a hypothetical situation. Um, yeah, you experience something that would
I
cause you.
guess I guess what would do it is if some really unfortunate events happened to me and I became nihilistic. If I started because there have been times in my life where I reached low points and I just really think there's no meaning to life.
Uh-huh.
In those points, I do doubt a fair amount. So if one of those happened, and you said I'd be at 50% believing my perception.
Um, yeah, just to clarify, we're exploring if you were convinced that personal experience was only 50% reliable, what would that do to your confidence in the higher power belief?
Yeah, that's actually interesting because I've had that happen to me and two different things have happened.
So say it happened again.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Would your confidence
Yeah.
change from 95?
I'm just gonna say that two things could happen because I've had a split. Sometimes, it's very bad. I start to be like, none of this matters. This is just bullshit. There is no higher power, and then my belief in higher power will go down
Okay.
just because the census went down. Other times, I'll be disassociated, and because of that, I'll be like, none of this is real. And to me, that kind of gives me more proof that we do live in an illusion. Hence, there's a higher power that's running it. I kind of more go with the flow, but I'm in a disassociative state. So it could actually take me to a higher level of belief in higher power, maybe towards 99%.
If you found out personal experience was not as reliable as you think?
It could go either way, depending on.
Okay, so it sounds like the higher power belief isn't really tied to your personal experience reason. if the reliability in that being a reason changes, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't sound like it matches. Like, personal
I
experience.
think there's another variable that's in there that can change it. I'd like to say it's free will. I can choose how I'm going to interpret a situation, and based off of that, it'll change how much I believe in the higher power or not. I have some choice in the matter, um, but some of it just happens. Like if I get into a disassociated state where I don't feel like things are real, I didn't really control that. That just happened, you know? And then it just makes me feel like everything is not real, meaning we do live in some kind of illusion.
Okay.
So some of it's out of my control, but I feel like whatever that is could either be unexplained or it could be my free will. Like in the nihilist example, I'm choosing to believe to not trust it because of how bad things are getting, but that's my choice.
Okay. So the question would be, and I'll wrap it up here. If you found out, hypothetically, that there were no free will, what would that do to your confidence in higher power?
I'd go totally nihilist. I probably would go to zero. Like, I believe free will and higher power are very intertwined.
Okay. How could you find out if we had no free will?
I don't know. I mean, that's like a crazy question. I have no idea
All right.
That's like, yeah. If I knew, I could probably, I could help society a lot if I knew the answer to that. But I don't.
Okay.
So yeah.
Cool. That was fun.
Okay.
Thanks for participating, Matthew.
Yeah, of course.
It's really coming down.